Oh shit! I forgot to mute the YouTube channel. Fuck.
Mine's not up yet.
Da, 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 da. It should be up momentarily. Live stream is starting soon, and I believe we are live. Good evening, good afternoon, good wherever you are. This is Omnibros live, and as always, it is Thursday night, and we are your Valiant headmasters. Live. So you have us to blame if you purchased a whole bunch of Valiant, and if you are the CEO from Valiant, please contact me at hardcoverreviews@gmail.com so we can work out a deal. With me tonight, as always, I have Mr. Jess Bragg, the Omni Dog himself.
Hello, hello.
How are you, good sir?
Happy to be here with my root beer float in my Dr. Strange glass from Raleigh Smith.
Okay,
Yum, and it's got a spoon straw.
Don't rub it in. I just started sugar-free diet, and it's killing me.
It's delicious. It's the greatest invention ever.
I hate you so much right now, Jess.
I know. I'm feeling the hate.
I'm 4 days clean right now, and I've lost 3 pounds so far. So
Wow.
yeah. God. Okay. And as always, we have the omnibus collector himself, the Grand Poobah, your faithful and always present leader, Mr. Riley Moore.
And I'm here with a bowl of soup that my wife just made and my glass of water in a Daredevil glass.
Sweet.
And as well, just in case things get dark today.
Uh-oh. Whole bottle.
In case you were wondering, yes, he just finished reading Civil War II, hence the bottle.
So we'll get to that. I do have work tomorrow, but you know, what happens, happens.
So I'm wanting to know, how was everybody's week? How was your New Year's, guys?
It was such a valiant New Year.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. That's coming up soon.
My New Year's was like a mirage, like a doctor mirage.
Oh, you know, it's a shame because I woke up the next morning with my eyes really bloodshot.
Oh, did you feel like the Book of Death?
Oh, it was killing me.
Fortunately, we have Rye right there.
And I was something XO Manowar.
Oh, you tried. Come on, you tried.
I hate to be the harbinger of bad news.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, I have a lot of faith in you, Riley.
You know, you're such an eternal warrior fighting against, I don't know.
Something. You got nothing, man. It's okay. Wait, I've got a whole bunch of Valiant books here. Let me see. Shit, I don't have anything. No, we've used up all the good ones.
Yeah. How are you going to work Quantum and Woody in there?
I'm not. I'm not even going to try.
Well, I've got a really big Woody on top of my shelf. It's from Toy Story. I bought it for my wife.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was a joke. Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, he's going to show us his Woody right now.
It's a big Woody.
How big is your Woody, Rye?
Here we go.
Oh, whoa.
It's
That was
supposed to
cool.
be, like, movie accurate. The box was in perfect condition, and then when we moved, the movers crushed it. So
Bastards.
Yeah, I know. I was really pissed off because my wife specifically wanted to keep it in the box and in condition.
Oh damn!
And it was the first gift that I ever bought her. So
that's the old school original one. That's really cool.
It was whenever Toy Story 3 came out, they released these like collector edition versions of all the main characters and stuff. And so I bought Woody for her because Toy Story is one of her absolute favorite movies of all time.
I agree. Toy Story is awesome.
That's so sweet. That's not evil at all. That's sweet, Riley. We don't hear enough stories about sweet Riley.
There's not many.
It's true. It's really true. He's known as a jerk in a lot of circles.
Damn.
Jerk Riley.
Why do you think it's just me and Jess doing the news show? We can only stand Riley for 2 hours a week.
We've banned him. The band hammer.
When you asked me, I was at work, so you're like, "You want to do another show?" I was like, "Yeah," and then you're like,
I'm kidding, man. I'm
3
kidding.
o'clock, and I was like, "Today? Yeah, I'm at work."
What? I wasn't the first choice? You fucker.
I'm sorry. No.
Smoke.
It
I'm
was
hurt.
a group chat.
Goodbye.
No, that's crap. It was a group chat.
Bye.
It was in the group chat. I sent it out saying, "Hey, does anybody want to do a news show with me?" And I think Gio and Jess were like the ones like, "Yeah," and you were like, "Yeah."
I was not very enthusiastic about things. That is true. Except for X-Men.
Yeah. I was enthusiastic about Valiant, but then,
Holy. Okay. Before we get into anything else, guys. Wow. Wow. Wow.
So I was all like happy. I was like, I'm gonna get a bunch of Valiant books next week. Get back on track with them. I've only read the first year of everything. I'm gonna read everything again and then keep going. And I'm so excited because these are like some of the only Lemire and Kint books that I haven't read. Like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I was so excited, and then like I felt really rushed to take my order of books.
Same.
I was like, fuck, like this is bad. This is really bad. And then all of a sudden, like the whole page is just, I went to work the next morning and I was sitting there on my phone and I see like a couple posts pop up and then like a couple more. And I'm like, oh shit. And then by the end of the day, it's just like the Valiant Collectors group. And I was like, God damn it.
I know. Note to selves, always make sure we own the books first before we promote them.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell anyone what I'm planning on buying anymore.
And the thing was that it was like, I don't know, we said it kind of in like a lighthearted tone, like, oh yeah, next year will be the year for Valiant. Like all of us were considering jumping on a Valiant and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You guys ran with that ball and you fucking not only crossed the 10-yard line, you ran all the way into the bleachers with it. Like it is crazy.
You viewers, you.
Yeah. You guys ran with it and like crazy. Didn't you post a picture of like saying everything is sold out Valiant wise on in stock trades?
I didn't post that. I know someone posted how like everything on in stock was going out of stock, and that kind of made everyone panic for a second. And I was like, they've done this before. I'm pretty sure they're gonna restock stuff. So I sent an email to Emily, everyone's favorite in stock employee, and I said, hey, just want to check on these items. Are they coming back in stock or are they gone? And then I said, also, sorry if there was a sudden influx of Valiant books. I talked about them on a YouTube show, and then all of a sudden everyone wanted them. And I was like, lightly apologizing tongue-in-cheek, like, to her about that. So she responded a day later. She's like, oh yeah, everything's coming back. Don't worry about it. The following books are going to be coming back in the next couple days. We're just waiting on orders, blah, blah, blah. Everything that went off and became unavailable, basically she told me should be coming available soon. And as people have seen in the group, that was absolutely true.
Except for like the already out of print.
Yeah, the ones that we knew were already out of print are not back up there. So if y'all are wanting to order a few of them, then they should be up there. I think Exo, Man of War Volume 1, and a couple others should be available as of today or maybe tomorrow. And my recommendation, if you do want to get onto the quote Valiant hype train, I recommend picking up maybe the first volume of Exo and the first volume of Harbinger.
I just reviewed Harbinger.
Those are great places to start. That's my recommendation. Do not spend $400 to get all of the books. That's not my recommendation. That is definitely not my recommendation. But it was crazy. That's about it.
Yeah, I just read Harbinger. I was very impressed with Harbinger. I thought that was really good.
Great book. It's really good.
Yeah, it was really good. Then I read Bloodshot, which my review for that will come out next week. I read the first trade. Not as strong as Harbinger, but still a solid read overall.
Yeah, and I'm really more excited to check out the Bloodshot Reborn, because that's
Lemire
that jumps on. So that should be real cool. And I've heard really good things about that one. So I bought that one with confidence recently. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, But I think we were wrong about year of Valiant. I think it's going to be the year of Vampirella. So everyone out there should definitely order anything with Vampirella on it.
Vampy. She's hot.
90s comics. So anything Scott Lobdell, Rob Liefeld, just clear it all out. Come on, guys.
It's all about that Vampirella for the next year. I know it. I feel it in my bones. This has nothing to do with me buying stock in Dynamite. This has nothing to do with that. Also, if you haven't read the James Bond series from Dynamite, it's fantastic. That doesn't have anything to do with my buying stock from Dynamite. I just think you should check it out.
And if your kid
else is published by Dynamite.
And if your kids are looking for a great book to put them to sleep at night, get them Crossed.
Crossed.
They'll love that.
That's from another publisher. Isn't that from like Avatar Press or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have stock with them, so you don't have to mention it.
So are we only covering Dynamite books tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I'm just saying, if Dynamite or Boom want to come to us and say, look, if you only want to cover our books, we'll pay you. Like, okay, you got it.
We have a price.
I can be bought out very cheaply. But yeah, the topic for this week, as some of you have already seen at the bottom of the screen, is books that are timeless. Comic books that they pretty much stand the test of time, that we think are relevant today, and we think that will be relevant and important years and years and years down the line. Now, we've got some very common choices. I'm sure, most of you are going to know what we're going to talk about. But Riley also has some little bit more obscure choices as well. I'm super excited about this topic because we're starting a new year, and I was thinking, new year, new time, all that other stuff, yada, yada, yada. Plus, I was literally trying to think of something all day at work today, and I was like, what the fuck can we talk about? So, hey, it's hard each week to come up with topics for this show. I'm telling you. But yeah, so we've got books that are timeless, but like always, we always start off the show with letting you guys know what it was that we had picked up this week. So I'm going to kick it to Jess and ask him.
What I picked up this week, first from Nicholas Pasetsky, I got New Frontier Absolute, which I did not have. So that was a boss trade. Thank you, Nicholas. I was happy to get that. Let's see. Tomy by Junji Ito. I haven't read it yet. It's still obviously in the plastic.
He's the one that does that Spiral book.
Right.
Yeah. Uzumaki.
Uzumaki. I picked up a copy of Book of Death from that publisher.
Hype Train.
Hype Train publisher. Then let's see. I picked up a bunch of Spider-Woman. Let's see. Spider-Woman. Spider-Women. More Spider-Woman because I really like Spider-Woman.
I heard that Dennis Hopeless series is really good.
Oh, it's
hoping so.
really good.
Yeah.
You hope it's not.
Spider-Woman right here.
That one has the Greg Land art, and it just ties into Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah, Greg Land.
Yeah, it's not the best, but after that is when she gets the new costume, and it's fantastic.
Oh, his art's fine.
Shut up.
Nothing wrong.
Oh my God.
I picked up Volume 2 of Secret Six, which I'm excited about because I like Gail Simone.
Surprised nobody picked up the new Superman.
The New 52 one or the Rebirth one?
Rebirth, but are we waiting for deluxes, right? Is that?
Yeah, I am.
That one is getting a deluxe, so I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Clean Room 2, which I can't wait to read. Gun Theory. I got to read this soon. This is from Dark Horse, and it sounds really cool. Birds of Prey, Volume 3. And let's see, just a couple more. Suicide Squad 5 came out, so I'm looking forward to that. Manifest Destiny 4. And The Punisher, the first volume of the Becky Cloonan, Steve Dillon art. So I'm looking forward to that.
I saw that at my comic shop. That looked good.
It is. It's pretty good.
Let's see. Then I also got Superman Wonder Woman Volume 5, Golden Age Superman 3. This is actually like 2 weeks worth of pickups. I didn't pick this all up in one giant order.
I was about to say,
Got
your
it.
postman hates you.
Yeah, no, this was we didn't go over books the previous two shows. Quantum and Riley's Woody right
Ooh,
here.
I want that one. I want
I
that.
love that one.
The Unwritten, which I'm excited to read.
I forgot to pick that up. Oh,
I'm sure they still have it. And then Dark Knight Returns: The Last Crusade, because I heard this was halfway decent. I don't know anything about it, but I heard it was good.
It is. I'll vouch for it. It's not bad.
I think it was you that recommended it to me.
Yeah, it's pleasantly surprising that it's not horrible.
That is some plug.
it's going to be written on the back of the book in the future. It's surprisingly not horrible.
Riley Moore, surprisingly not horrible.
The same way that DK3 is not the worst thing ever. Also, Luis, did you see what I tagged you in when you appeared in an issue of DK3?
That was great.
Baba Booey.
That was great. Oh, just not to get too far off topic, but who read U.S. Avengers this week?
I still haven't gotten to pick it
I
up.
have not.
Oh, Riley, this is so up your alley.
I know.
Oh my God, it is amazing. It is probably the most beautiful thing I've read this week.
Wow.
Oh, Jess, you haven't seen anything until you've seen the villain's hideout and what it does. It's incredible.
This is just one issue?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's so over the top and stupid that it's fun. I loved it.
That's what I was expecting. And that's why I told everyone whenever it first got solicited and people were like, this looks stupid. And I was like, I know. That's kind of the point. It's a book called U.S. Avengers, and it's written by a British guy. What do you expect it to be?
There's a panel. Okay, God, I don't want to ruin anything for you. No, you guys are just going to have to go in cold because I think the more cold you go in, the better it is. But it's as stupid and over the top and as fun as you thought it would be, Riley. I would say even more so.
Good. I'll read it very soon. Very, very soon.
I mean, come on. The general, it's not even Thunderbolt Ross. Like, the Red Hulk has the mustache, and he's got sideburns, and he's wearing red, white, and blue American, like, boy shorts. It is incredible.
Doesn't he also have aviators on?
He's got the aviators on while he fights.
I mentioned to you in our chat, he looks like Axe Cop with a sunburn.
Oh, it's beautiful. It is glorious, honestly. I actually read a lot of things this week because I had half of the week off, but that was probably the funniest and best thing that I read this week, just in terms of how much fun I had.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to get it.
To check it out because I've been following everything that Al Ewing has been doing, and I know this is the next stage after New Avengers. And New Avengers, I did not like that series at the beginning, but as he went forward, it was a series that I found myself really looking forward to checking out every month.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because every single book that Ewing has done for Marvel has been very different. It's like he tries to purposefully make everything he puts his fingers on have a very distinct and different flavor, which I think is really cool.
As good a flavor as root beer?
I hate you.
Possibly.
You know I can't have it.
Sorry.
Womp, womp.
Sorry, not sorry.
I'm trying to get a girlish figure. But yeah, I'm gonna. Did you finish up your list? I'm sorry, Jess. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, that's everything I got.
Okay.
The past 2.5, 3 weeks.
Jeez. I'm gonna pass it over to Rye Guy. What you got, man?
I don't think I got anything between like the last two shows. I got some Christmas gifts from my family, and I got a bunch of books in today, and I have 2 more boxes coming in from in-stock trades. One of them should be here tomorrow, and one of them in a couple days. So I kind of went hog wild. When I said I was preparing to get into Valiant, I meant like immediately after the show, and I ordered everything. So that's on the way. That's no surprise to anyone. So let's see. While Jess was talking, I kind of pulled everything out of my shelves. That's what I was fiddling around with. A lot of the same stuff that Jess picked up. So I grabbed the Rebirth Deluxe Edition.
Mm.
I generally I liked this story except for the thing in it. I'm not completely a fan of that, but I was buying stuff and it was super cheap on in-stock trades, so I was like, you know what, I would like to have that on my shelf one way or another, and it's a nice little deluxe edition, so I figured why the heck not. I also had the surprisingly not horrible Dark Knight Last Crusade. Surprisingly not horrible with surprisingly not horrible artwork by John Romita Jr. Get the fuck in there. All right, there we go.
That's what she said.
Oh God!
Damn. Wow. I don't even want to think about what that's in reference to, but okay. Moving forward, Volume 10 of Snyder's Batman Epilogue actually only has like one issue that's written completely by Snyder. It collects issues 51 and 52 of Batman, as well as Future's End, Annual number 4, and Batman Rebirth number 1. So you get 51 is written by him, Rebirth is co-written by him, 52 I think is written by James Tynion IV, and then Future's End and Annual are written like by Tynion and Ray Fox or something. So it's actually like a bunch of different writers in here, not just Scott Snyder, but DC very smartly released the final issue of Snyder's run by itself with all this other stuff, so you feel obligated to pick it up.
I'm genuinely surprised we still haven't gotten an announcement for an omnibus or more absolutes for this run.
I'm guessing if what's it called, All-Star is meant to be the end of his run, we might see something after it concludes, but I don't remember when he said. I think it's like supposed to be just over a year worth of material. I don't know. Let's see. I also got the next volume of Suicide Squad by John Ostrander. I got the next volume of Sandman Mystery Theater by Matt Wagner with Stephen T. Siegel. I too got that deluxe edition of Unwritten. I got the Star Wars Legends collection for the Clone Wars. That's up at the top of my shelf, so I don't feel like grabbing it right now. I finally got the first Silver Age omnibus of Amazing Spider-Man. That was a gift from my grandmother for Christmas. So
Nice.
Thanks, Grandma.
Very nice.
Let's see. I got Guardians of the Galaxy in the Year 3000 Volume 2 randomly because I don't have Volume 1, so now I feel a little bit naked. Machine Man Complete Collection. Super excited about that one. By Kirby and Ditko. Let's see. Doctor Strange, the Epic Collection that came out about a month or two ago.
Oh, I forgot to pick that up.
I think I did too.
Excited about that. And I don't know, there's probably something I'm missing. Oh yeah, I also got Tommy mail today.
Well, I guess I'm ordering Tommy soon then.
It is freaking huge, man. Like this thing
Yeah, it's way thick.
thick.
Is that a hardcover?
Yeah, it's a hardcover. It's slightly larger than the average size of manga, and it's like 1 million pages long.
So it's like the Akira volumes, right? Except in hardcover.
It's not as big as the Akira volumes, but let me see how many pages it is.
God, I can't wait for those hardcovers.
740 plus.
Wow.
In one volume of manga. It's crazy. And like I almost didn't order it, but then I looked up some stuff from it and I was like, Jesus, I really, really need this in my life. So, and I love everything I've read by Junji Ito, which is basically just Uzumaki and Gyo. I've loved, and I felt like not going to sleep. So I bought that.
Oh, Uzumaki will fuck you up.
And this looks even more terrifying than Uzumaki,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. Like Uzumaki was one of those. I borrowed it from a library and I was like, this can't be that bad. I read that shit and I was up like all night. I was like,
Get the fuck out of there.
it's like I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. God. Oof. But that was about it.
Yeah, that's it. I might have had a couple other things that I got recently, but I just don't remember.
You had some good pickups this week, dude.
Yeah, I can't wait for my next couple packages again. There's a lot. There's more good stuff. I can't wait to show y'all.
I'm kind of happy because we're in that point right now where it's the beginning of January, so there's really not much like in terms of omnibuses or anything that are coming out. But once we hit, I think late January, early February is when we start getting hit with more stuff, right?
Yeah, late January is Deadpool Beginnings Omnibus,
I'll
and
pass
then
on that.
February we start getting more of the big ones coming out. Like I think February is the Realm of Kings Omnibus.
Getting that.
A couple other things. But I agree. It's good that we had this lull at the beginning because everything that I just showed was basically the stuff that I didn't buy from like December and November, and then I got it all at the beginning of January since I'm like, oh, there's like nothing for the rest of the month, so I'm good.
Which I'll give Marvel credit for this. Like they knew, like, okay, everybody's gonna be broke during Christmas.
Yeah.
Like after Christmas. So let's space this out a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm flat broke. Okay, as far as me, okay. I bit the bullet and because I don't have enough work as it is already. I decided to do a weekly Valiant show, so I jumped on the Valiant hype train like you would not believe.
Woo woo!
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I've got Bloodshot on the way. I've got the hardcover for Bloodshot on the way. I've got, thanks to Eric Stouffer, I've got that's the one that's coming on the way thanks to him. I've got Book of Death on the way, the deluxe edition, and I've got Archer and Armstrong on the way from Eric Stouffer. No, my mistake. Eric Stouffer sent me Archer and Armstrong. I did a trade for Bloodshot and the other one and Book of Death. So I've got those on the way. I also stopped by this local used store. It was the first time stopping by there, and I picked up a few Valiant trades as well. I got first volume of Bloodshot. I already talked about that for a split second. Not as strong as Harbinger. My review for that will come out next week. Overall, pretty good. Not as great as Harbinger, like I've said, but still a really solid read overall. And I've heard, like you said, Riley, that once you start getting into the Jeff Lemire Bloodshot Reborn era, that's when it really starts picking up. And it does get really good around Harbinger War. First two volumes of Harbinger. This was really good. Harbinger was badass. Like, I really dug the hell out of this, and I can't wait to read more. Divinity.
Oh, yeah. Great book.
I haven't read that yet, but looking forward to that.
Great book. Great, great, great.
The first volume of Rye. And because she's been really popular, especially in mainstream media lately. The first two volumes of Faith. And right, Jess, you're gonna love this.
Yes.
The first volume of the Death-Defying Dr. Mirage.
Nice. Very good.
Really excited to jump into this and read this after your praise last week.
Yes.
This is gonna kind of cover like about 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks worth of pickups because a lot of stuff came in the mail. I also got all the volumes of Captain America Brubaker Omnibus. I have all of them.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, can I afford this charge on the credit? Yeah, fuck it. Because it was a great deal. No, I mean, it was a hell of a deal for the price he was selling it for. Like, it was $450 for all of it. So I was like, this is a good deal.
For all five, that's a great deal.
Yeah, it was a really good deal overall.
It's a fantastic deal.
So I was like, you know what? I've paid off most of my credit card debt now. Okay, well, why not? Just do a little splurge. Got that, and my brother picked up the first 3 volumes of Akira for me in manga format. I've never read Akira. I was gonna hold out for the hardcover format for next year, but he gave it to me as a Christmas gift, so I'm like, awesome. I'll pick up Akira and read it.
So good.
I've heard it differs widely from the anime.
Oh yeah, because the anime covers roughly half of the manga.
So I have the first 3 volumes, so the anime will probably cover up to that, right?
I feel like that's basically it, and then it goes beyond and expands on stuff. So it's not it's there's a lot more content in there. That's all I can say. It's really good. It's really fantastic, and I think the general consensus is it starts a little bit slow, but it picks up real fast and it does not stop.
That's kind of the same thing I've heard. Like, everything I've heard is like, look, the anime finished before the manga was even done. So it's one of those cases. It's kind of like Full Metal Alchemist, where they had Full Metal Alchemist, the anime come out, but the manga still hadn't finished. So it differs widely. And then they did Brotherhood. I also read Full Metal Alchemist. That was good. All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, the stuff that we picked up, what have you read this week?
I read one book because it was a very thick book, and it was Batman Elseworlds. Isaac Morales asked for photo bait. I pulled it out, took pictures, and it's pretty thick. And I thought, you know what, this looks good. So I started leafing through it, and I read it. And Batman Elseworlds is Batman, obviously, in different settings, different time periods, different countries. It includes one book that's been out of print for a long time. That's Batman as a Green Lantern, Batman in Darkest Night.
Oh, I have that.
Yeah, that's been out of print for a long time. So it was good that it was included in this.
Huh?
There you go. Yep.
I like Soviet Russian Batman.
Batman Golf.
And there's
Batgolf.
Frankenstein Batman, and there was let's see.
Does it have this one in there?
No, Gotham by Gaslight's not in here. There's Batman Holy Terror, which is the premise is America is still under the yoke of England, a very religious England. Batman, the Blue, the Gray, and the Bat, which is during the Civil War. Robin 3001 and 2, that's set in the future. Batman Dark Joker, The Wild, that was really good. I like that one a lot. That was kind of a fantasy. Well, they're all fantasy, but it was a kind of a set in the woods type of fantasy where he's actually like a bat, man. So there he is right there.
That exact quote will be found on the back of that book a few years down the line when they reprint it.
He looks like the Tick.
Yeah, he does. Sort of there. Batman Houdini, The Devil's Workshop, that was good. Castle of the Bat, In Darkest Night, and Dark Allegiances. And I thought it was kind of a mixed bag. I think all the premises were interesting. I thought that they did a good job sort of stretching the imagination and what he was capable of in different time periods. Some stories obviously were better than others, but they were all interesting premises. If I were to rate this book on hardcover system, I'd say it's a solid borrow. If I were to rate it on Riley's system, I'd say it's a solid 5-finger discount. Steal it. That's what Riley did in all his previous jobs. Stole stuff. I can't wait to see him drive off with a car from his current job.
I mean, I bought a car from my current job.
Oh, nice.
So there's that.
He's driving a Mercedes.
That's all I read because it's all you need to really like Batman because it's all bat all the time, and it took me all week to read it. I enjoyed it, but it did take me all week, and that's all I read.
Wowzers.
Yo. I'm running out of root beer. It's a national crisis.
I was going to say, you're almost out of float there.
I know. I'm parched.
And we're only about halfway through this show. What are you going to do the rest of the way, man?
I don't know. I'm going to have to go run to look for some water or something. I'm out of root beer.
Who needs water? Come on.
F word.
Yeah. It's the communism drink. Water. You're American. We don't drink water here.
I'm an American.
It's either root beer or Coke.
Right. Well, that's pretty much true in my case.
Mr. Riley, what'd you read, buddy?
Well, I read.
Oh!
He's getting ready to knock back the hard stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax. This is the moment you've been waiting for.
It's going to take a while.
Pull up a chair. Oh, I love that clanking sound.
Oh, whoa!
That's a big gulp.
So I finished Civil War.
Civil War 2. Uh-huh.
Get another
Whoa!
Yeah, you're gonna need it, buddy. Get another.
Slugging it back.
I'm doing my best Max Landis impression right now.
Fuck Bendis.
What's going on, Bendis? I mean, you got a premise here that's pretty solid. I'm gonna have your back on that here. Like, if you're not familiar, the whole idea is basically there's a new Inhuman because there's a new Inhuman every fucking day, and he can like predict the future essentially, and they start using him to proactively go after criminals. They call it profiling crime or whatever it is, and it's a decent idea. And you have, you know, one character, much like the first Civil War, is for it. The other character is against it. The one for it is Captain Marvel. The one against it is Iron Man. And they have people on each of their sides and they fight. And that's supposed to be, you know, whatever. It's a decent premise. It can work. And then, of course, you know, obviously you have Ulysses, which was his name if I didn't say it. He predicts that, you know, a superhero is going to do something bad. And then they have to make the decision of like whether they're going to stop that hero from doing that thing or not. And here's one of the...
He's a plot device. Ulysses is a giant plot device.
So one of the issues is that this book is too vignetted. Like every issue stands on its own and does not, I don't know, it's like randomly going between plotline and plotline. And I feel like there's no cohesive thing going on here, and it's just purposefully making you go out and feel like you need to buy every tie-in, because the story by itself in there is so empty. It's like the backbone of an actual story, and it suffers for it, because you sit there and you have an issue where you're like, okay, so first of all, this is what's going down, and everyone's going to war, and they're fighting against Thanos. Cool. Thanos has a rocket launcher. Why? I don't know. He shoots it at She-Hulk, and she gets fucking fucked up. Like, okay, that's...
Oh, but the thing is, we talked about a rocket launcher. She-Hulk,
Yeah.
a rocket launcher.
And then we remember what Bendis's his response, like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, obviously if it's Thanos, it's not a normal rocket launcher.
Which is some high school playground shit.
What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Why? What do you mean? Like, it's not a normal fucking rocket launcher. Get out of here. Just like Thanos he's a pretty strong fucking dude. You know, like, he could do a lot more without a rocket launcher. I'm not playing those games, Bendis. I'm not playing those games. I don't like it. Stop it. So why? And then there's like at least 2 big superhero deaths out of fucking nowhere that everyone knows about because they publicize it and they talk about it way before it even happens, ruining it, making it like not even mean anything when you actually read it. So that was bullshit. And I understand that death is part of comics. I've never been one to get upset and be like, why would they kill them? I'm like, I get it. But the fact that comics, they ruin, like the news articles ruin it before it even happens. Mm-hmm. You get no surprise out of it. So that was really dumb and upsetting. But also because I felt like sometimes these deaths are not very respectful to the character, the way that they're written. So that was bullshit too. And then you spend an issue where you're like, all right, we're going to court. And then they're like, oh, great, we get a court issue. Great, that's going to be great fun. And then they go to court, and it's a whole issue of everyone arguing, and they're like, you know, objection and whatever. And then you're like, why is this in a major event comic? That's the material you should have in the side story from a fucking tie-in. Like have a one shot. Like they always fucking do the one.
Oh, excuse me.
They always do those stupid one shots that you feel like you have to pick up, like that Century Fallen Sun that you were talking about earlier.
Oh
Luis.
god. Oh god.
And it's dumb. But anyway, they put that in there, and then it jumps around. It jumps from like action to courtroom in another issue, and the next issue it jumps back into some action. But mostly it's just talking about shit and talking about how like, uh-oh, Spider-Man might do something bad. Uh-oh, Ulysses is getting trained by Karnak. Uh-oh, there's some shit happening with the X-Men somewhere else, but no one really knows because they do their own thing. Uh-oh, like everything's bad. And then like, uh-oh, Captain Marvel's acting like a fascist. Why? That's not part of her character. What is she doing? And then Iron Man's like, I'm angry. And there's also Riri Williams over here. Just keep your eye on her, remember. And then everyone's like, save Spider-Man, save Miles. And then it's just this whole bullshit that comes together in the final issue, which was delayed so fucking much. It was delayed like 20 years, this issue was. And by the time the issue came out, everything was spoiled for you because you know exactly who's missing in the Marvel Universe. You know exactly what like went down. There's no secret to it. It's pointless to even read it. The only reason to read it is to find out how Bendis wrapped up this hackneyed, horrible script and gave us all of these fucking tropes and then explained to us like why Tony Stark was doing what he was doing. And it's like, you could have done so much better with this, Bendis. I've seen you at your best, and I feel like I've seen you at your worst now too. So
Ooh.
Is
Hit
this
him with
kinda
the
one of those things- is this kind of one of those things where you're like a father where I'm not mad.
I'm not
just
mad.
disappointed.
This is the point.
I'm just really fucking pissed. I'm
Got angry, Riley, tonight.
And this is the events that they give us. You know, it's this, and you get the fucking original sin from my dear Jason Aaron, who never flies too close to the sun except for that one. Oh my gosh.
But I think he got fucked over for Original Sin though.
I think that was one of those, like, you know, they shove it down, their editorials shoving it down his throat and telling him to do this stuff, and he puts in a couple things that he wants to, like the orb and stuff, but then mostly he's just fucked into doing whatever they want him to do. And then yeah, that happened. And then what other events have happened in the past however long that have been asked? I don't know, all of them. And then everything that's coming up is going to be asked too. So whatever. And I'm speaking as someone who loves what's going on in the ongoing books at Marvel right now, but the events, they need to stop it. Like, I think that's what everyone says. My saying that's not going to do anything and whatever, but they need to go back to having just like maybe one event a year. And even then, when it was one event a year, we were still overwhelmed by it, and we're asking for them to do like one every 2 years or something. But if there was one thing that DC did right with the New 52, it was that they stayed away from doing events for a little while. They took a couple years before they did any sort of crossover, any sort of event, and it was very beneficial, extremely beneficial to the line. I have to praise them for that, if anything.
It was 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was. And I think Marvel needs to do the same thing and step back from events and let all their books do what they need to do. Let these series go where they need to go without editorial interfering, because that's what's causing them to have their best writers, i.e. Hickman, Remender, others, to want to leave because they're tired of getting, you know, editorial breathing down their backs.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, they're not getting to tell the stories that they want to tell. And that's coming from someone that loves the stories that they did tell up until the last moment. But the things that suck is then you get something like Remender's. At least Hickman got to finish. He got to do Secret Wars, and he stepped off like a champ. Remender did, you know, 6 issues of Uncanny Avengers Volume 2, and then he did the Rage of Ultron, and he did like Captain America, All New Captain America, and then Secret Wars happened, and he did the one miniseries with the Hail Hydra. And then he leaves, and there's all these dangling plot threads for someone else to pick up, and you're left thinking, like, as good as Jerry Dugan is at picking up what Remender laid down, whatever the phrase is, he's not Remender. And I want to see how it would have played out if Remender did it. It's a huge what if, and it's a like situation where I know it would have been better.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
I think
Bottoms up.
Marvel to me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jess. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say he used the word beneficial in there for New 52. After that glass of whiskey you're done with, I want to hear you say that word again, because I have a feeling it's going to come out beneficial.
Beneficial.
Go ahead, hardcover.
I think Marvel's just in a really interesting place right now. I mean, they're doing so well in the movies, and look, I don't care what anybody. The movies influence the books we get. The movies are influencing them, and Marvel say no, they don't. But you know, they kind of do. It's just that's how the nature of the beast is. But this whole thing, and I've talked about this at length. This whole thing with event after event after event after event, it's gotten to be too much. I think it's gotten to be too much. Just take a break, Marvel. Just take a year off. You know, let's go our separate ways for a while. Let's take the kids. You know, you go your way, I'll go my way. We'll deal with the problems later. But it's just event after event after event, and I'm tired of it. And I'm also kind of tired of them going 7 issues and then restarting a book. 7 issues, and we've got another Howard the Duck. 7 issues, we've got a whole new Thor called. I get that's what they're doing right now. I get that number ones draw people in. But at the same time, us other older readers, I'm going, well, what the fuck? Which Thor is which that I read in what order? Because I'm not paying attention that much at Marvel. And if I want to jump onto a book, somebody's going to go, well, you read this Thor. Then you read this type of Thor. Then you read this type of Thor. And then you jump to this Thor. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. I'm a lazy bastard. That's part of my problem, too. I'm tired. I am definitely tired. And I agree with the point that you made. It seems like Marvel's top tier talent, your Ed Brubakers, your Rick Remenders, your Jonathan Hickmans, they are jumping ship. They are going, you know what, I'm fuck this. I'm going to Image. I'm going to strike a deal with Image. I'm going to publish whatever the hell I want. I want my own rights. I want my own ideas to stay mine because I'm just getting treated really badly by Marvel. At least that's what I'm thinking is going on. I've got to do these editorial mandates. They're shoving things down my throat, and we have to shoehorn stuff in every 6-7 issues for this dumb event that they've put together, and it's horrible. And honestly, I'm surprised if Jason Aaron in a few years down the line will probably be the next one to jump ship.
Ooh, God, ballsy prediction.
Jason Aaron doesn't need Marvel. Marvel needs Jason Aaron.
He doesn't need Marvel, and it's true. And once he finishes up telling the stories that he's doing on Thor and Doctor Strange, he could leave, and they're boned. Like, they're really boned, because who do they have left? They have their biggest writers. They have Bendis, who just caused me to drink a lot of whiskey. So
he's not very beneficial.
It's not. But like. And to be fair, I'm reading like the stuff that Bendis is putting out right now, and it's good. I enjoy it, I have to say. But his events are just trash. It's trash water is what it is. And yeah, I mean they've got a stable of writers that I think are good and are capable, and they're having some people like Dennis Hopeless, Cullen Bunn, who are really making names for themselves. But how long does it happen before those guys become the next, you know, Remenders, Hickmans, and Brubakers, and Fractions, and they, who, after having a solid body of work beneath their feet, decide that it's time for them to jump ship as well? Like, that's the worry that I have. And it's crazy because Marvel's the publisher that has been allowing for more writers to do the things that they want to do, but at the same time, they've also been the ones making writers do the things that they don't want to do. Mm-hmm. It's crazy because it kind of goes both. It's both ways, and you can see like it's the mainstream books that get the bad end of the stick, and most of the you know, sidelining books, the ones that are outside of the main Marvel universe, so to say, are getting to do their own thing, and that's how we got like Fractions Hawkeye, and that's how we got Miss Marvel. That's how we got all these other things, because these books, they're getting to do their own thing. They're getting to go do their own thing, whatever these writers want to do without interruption. But then you get most of the mainstream books are being pulled in for no reason, or like some of the sideliners, like Power Man and Iron Fist, like you mentioned last time when we were talking about this, get sucked in for no fucking reason, and
Yeah.
it's really bothersome. Like the type of event that I prefer to see happen is the type of event where there's barely any tie-ins from ongoing titles, unless the writer has a reason to tie it in, like that character is heavily involved, and then it's mostly all the tie-ins are from one-shots and miniseries that are completely optional. Because you know what the best tie-ins for Civil War II were? It was the miniseries, the Amazing Spider-Man, the Uncanny X-Men, some of the one-shots. Those were the best things to come out of Civil War II, not all these random tie-ins. You know which tie-in made me the most upset outside of Power Man and Iron Fist was the Spider-Man with Miles Morales, because what did that series do except mirror exactly what was happening in those issues of Civil War II? So you get Bendis basically hacking through and giving us the same script twice, because he's repeating the same scene in 2 books pretty much. And I'm like, come on, man, like you're better than this. I know you're better than this. Stop it, man. Stop it.
Yeah, and to be fair, we're trashing on Bendis today, but Bendis is in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
He is a fucking great writer. He really
Yeah.
is. He gave us Alias, Daredevil, some of the best crime books that have ever been written, arguably, in comics. I just don't know what's happened to him the past few years.
It was really funny, and I know I've defended his Guardians of the Galaxy for different reasons, and I see the arguments against it, and I completely, like, that's cool, like, I appreciate that. And, like, fuck, what was I going to say?
You were going to say how much you liked Princess Diaries.
Shut up. Yes. There was a Twitter, he tweeted one time, and it was, he said, like, someone said something about, like, has Bendis ever read any Guardians of the Galaxy before he started writing? And he tweeted something really coy. It was like, I don't know, or maybe not, or I didn't, or no, it was someone was asking for, like, your darkest secrets, like, of writing comics, and someone made one comment, and Bendis was like, I've never read Guardians of the Galaxy before I started writing it, and another writer was like, I fucking knew it. And I was like, I don't know if he's, like, being sarcastic and, like, joking because people have, like, asked him, like, have you ever read the Guardians before this? Or if he's actually being serious. But if he's being serious, I could believe it. I could fucking believe it, because what he's done with those characters and the voices he gives them is oftentimes not matching up with what they are in before this book. If you go back and read Abnett and Lanning, if you go back and read anything that Jim Starlin has done, anything that Bill Mantlo has done, anything that other writers who have taken care of these characters have done, they don't match the voices. Like what he's doing now don't match the voices. I know he's trying to do something that matches a little more with what the movie is, because the movie is, inform the comics now. But at the same time, like, you have to retain the sanctity of those characters and who they are, and go forward in telling these stories of those characters being who they are and how they're supposed to be. So that, I don't know. I'm just talking now. But that's, yeah.
Yeah, say beneficial for us.
It's beneficial.
He kind of looked like he had to struggle with that one.
Yeah, he was.
I got this. I got this. I mean, you haven't seen me start talking about the books that we chose yet. So.
Oh, that's going to be fun. If Riley ever cuts out, it's because I give him the boot because he got too drunk on this stream.
He's wanted to do a drinking show for a while, and he just decided to start on his own.
After that one episode, it's going to be like True Hollywood Stories of, like,
behind the mirrors.
And it's going to be like Riley Moore after that one episode of Omnibros Live.
You guys ain't shit. I can do it by myself.
All right, sure, fine, because you make videos by yourself. Yeah.
Me and Nick will start our own podcast.
Speaking of podcasts, why don't you take this time to promote a podcast you were going to promote there, Rye Guy?
Oh yeah. So
before you can't get it out.
Yeah.
I'm a very, when I'm a loving drunk, and if I get actually really drunk, I think I'm Spider-Man.
He's
So
a cuddler, folks. He's a cuddler.
I'm a weeper.
I wanted to take a little time to talk about one of our very good friends, our very good mates, if you will, from the group. Alex, you might know him from the name Sherlock Alexi in the group. He is a Australian buddy of ours, one of my admins in there, and he's a fantastic young guy. He's a nice young man who's about to get married himself and have a house and all these responsibilities. And he's fantastic, very kind-hearted, loves all the best comics. He has the best opinions, and he's also a great historian who knows way more about American history than I do, which I think really helps in his appreciation of a lot of the comics that he loves. So that's really cool. He, along with a friend of his named John, they have a podcast together called The Splash Panel. And I haven't listened to every episode of The Splash Panel that he's done, but what I have listened to is extremely awesome, informative stuff. They talk about great topics. They did one recently on the Don Rosa Duck comics, like the Donald Duck and Scrooge McDuck comics, which have also had a little bit of a following within the group. A lot of people talk about them, and a lot of people have gone out and bought some of those books. I personally really want to buy some of those books, especially after listening to Alex and John talk about them, because they talk so sincerely and so lovingly about these characters, and they really give this really informative look at what makes these books so special. So if you haven't heard of that podcast yet, Alex usually posts a link to it every week when he does that with John in the Facebook group. I highly recommend checking it out. I highly recommend following that podcast and giving him some love because I love him too. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out for Alex. The Splash Panel, once again, that's what it's called. Hopefully Luis can give it a link down below after we're done here.
Yeah,
Nice.
send me a link and I'll put it up. There was one more, Gabe. We were gonna do.
Yeah. So Gabe Bustamantes is he was the one that helped us put together our reward show last week and the week before that. A lot of effort put into that. He out of the blue, he wanted to do that on his own, and it was incredibly greatly appreciated. He's a really great guy, really funny guy. Gabe, I think you're watching right now. I think you're in the chat right now. So he's a fantastic young guy right there, and he's got his own channel that he started a few months ago, if I recall correctly, called Gabe Infinity Watch. And I've in particular, the video that I watched that I really enjoyed from Gabe was he's a big fan of, as far as I understand, a huge fan of Nicktoons and the Nickelodeon from the 90s. And they've started releasing these Nicktoons boxes, similar to like the Funko boxes where you get all the like Pops and Marvel shit like that. And it's I think it's bi-monthly or seasonally or something like that. And it has a bunch of merchandise for like the old Nicktoons stuff. And he did a video unboxing the first one that had a bunch of cool stuff in there, a bunch of Rugrats, some Cat Dog, stuff like that.
Ooh, Cat Dog.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of cool stuff in there. And I asked him today, I said, hey man, when's that second box coming out? Are you going to do a unboxing? And he said, yeah, this weekend, hopefully he'll get one. He said to me, it should have the Pete and Pete hat. So if you remember that one, because what he said was it's supposed to be a box for all the live action shows of the 90s. So that's going to be really cool. I can't wait to see it. Again, the name of his channel is Gabe Infinity Watch. He's a real cool guy. I would really appreciate it if you guys would check him out.
Cool beans. I'm gonna do one more plug because I said I would do this for him like a few weeks ago and I completely forgot, and I apologize. But check out Omar's. I guess this is the plugging section of the
Yeah,
video.
I have a plug too.
Check out Omar's channel. He does near mint condition. His stuff is really, really good. I was genuinely impressed by the stuff that I saw. He does kind of like a roundtable discussion. It's really good, guys. They discuss topics. I think they even touched on Civil War a few weeks ago or something like that. Really good guy. He's helped me out a few times finding whales and things like that. So check out his stuff. It's near mint conditions. You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, they have really great production quality on their stuff.
Oh, far better than the stuff I'm doing with my potato can.
I have a plug just for a member in the group, the Omnibus Swap Drop and ROP
Hop, drop, and
community.
bucket.
Yeah, and that is for Tyler Blunt, who suffers from cystic fibrosis and has lived far longer than he was supposed to, and plans on living much longer. He's so grateful that he's gotten extra years in his life that every month of 2017 he's going to be giving stuff away in the group. And that's his way of giving back. And I just sent a book to Tyler to include in one of his giveaways. And so he's giving away something in January, and he'll do it every month. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Tyler Blunt because I thought that was really an awesome, generous way to give back in the group and to celebrate life. So props to Tyler Blunt.
Here.
Very cute little girl. Do you remember the pictures on Halloween that he had their costumes and she was Wonder Woman?
Oh yeah.
It was adorable. I loved it.
Okay, wait. Who's echoing?
Not me.
I don't even hear an echo.
I hear.
it.
How does this happen?
I don't have anything open, so it's definitely not. I didn't do it.
Hello? Oh, you told me.
I still don't hear anything.
Hello? Not again.
You want me to sign out and sign back in and see if that helps it?
Yeah, I'll try that. Nick.
Riley pours himself some bourbon. Okay, I'm going to sign out.
It's probably me. It's always me. Yeah, it's me. Damn it.
I don't even hear anything this time.
It is me. God.
But I don't think you can sign out because it's your chat this time.
I think I can.
If this whole thing goes black.
Hold on.
Oh man.
How's that?
Frick.
Hello? Ah. All right, Riley, try something.
Huh?
Sign out and come back.
Hold on, I'm trying to tell Steve what I'm drinking. A small batch, aged 9 years. I typed that perfectly, even though I'm a little tipsy. All right, I'm gonna.
We lose it?
Yeah.
It's Riley!
It's not me. I knew it wasn't
It's
me.
Riley!
That drunk. I'm sure he unmuted on YouTube by mistake as he was poking around looking for more ice for his drink.
Oh my God, I feel so good about myself. Riley, it's you.
It was me?
It's
Yeah.
you.
What?
I feel so good about myself now.
I didn't even do anything. How is that me?
You weren't very beneficial to the YouTube video. It's better now, though. Now it's beneficial.
All right, we keep going. Oh, Riley.
I can speak just fine. I don't know what you're going on about.
Where do we leave off before we went onto the tangent of like Civil War II and events?
We were talking about what we've been reading this week, and that's the only thing I read this week.
That was the only thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I've already talked about U.S. Avengers. I've talked about pretty much everything I've read, so I guess we go into the main section while you're still limber, you know? And you're able to.
An hour and 15 minutes later.
Well, an hour and 5 minutes of it was Civil War.
That was a beautiful 1 hour and 5 minutes. It was perfect. Like, it's going to be one of those clips that I know somebody's going to isolate it and cut it out, and like it's just going to be used for a while now in the group. That is definitely going to be.
What happened?
That is definitely going to be a highlight clip.
Huh? What?
We're talking to you.
You good? You good, man?
Yeah, I'm good.
Or do I need to make this another news show for the week?
I'm at I'm
You're
like
getting-
every guy that hosts their own party. I'm at my own house. I'm good.
You're getting blurrier.
All right, to get on this, man, we're gonna have to speed through this because I don't think Riley's gonna make it.
Good. Good.
All right, Jess, go ahead. Books that are timeless. Each one of us picked out a set of books that we think are timeless, or are going to be timeless, or are going to be relevant in a few years. Now, Jess picked out the most obvious ones mainly because of his experience with it, so we're going with Jess.
That's right. I have something you guys don't have, and that is life experience. Because, what's that? Did you major in life experience at Yale?
No.
Excuse me, I majored in life experience. That's from The Simpsons. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, comic books were a vast wasteland of not very interesting things happening. We already had interesting things happening in the beginning of the 70s. Lots of cool things happened to DC and Marvel. There was, Green Lantern, Green Arrow with Neil Adams and Dennis O'Neil, and some interesting stuff happening with Superman and Batman. And then on the other side, there was all kinds of good stuff at Marvel. But towards the late 70s and early 80s, it was dry as toast. There was, to me, this is my opinion only, but to me, there was nothing interesting going on, so much so that I quit collecting from, say, 1977 until I discovered this book in 1985. And yes, I am aware that a lot of you weren't born back then. I was a young strapping buck like you guys are now, not the withered old creature you see before you, but I was young like you once. And I read in the LA Times back when I was living in California about this book that had come out where Batman had become a type of Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson type of Death Wish character coming out of retirement, doing all these interesting things. And I said, that doesn't sound like Batman like I know him. So I went to a comic book store and I said, tell me about this Batman that's like Clint Eastwood or something. And he goes, oh, dude, you mean Dark Knight Returns. And this is the absolute that I have. But back then, to me, it was the first comic that I had seen in that kind of prestige format. It wasn't a floppy. It was more than that. It was like the prestige format they call it now.
Was it more like a magazine? Was it like a magazine size?
No, it was comic book size, but it was thick. It was thickly bound. It was like a Dark Horse annual, size, with the thick binding for a floppy. Only it had really nice shiny covers, and I've got them somewhere. But it was by a guy who I had never heard of, and with art. God, this book is big. But with art that I had never seen the likes of before. And Batman just comes out kicking ass, chewing bubblegum, and he's all out of bubblegum. He is ready to rock and roll like I had never seen before, beating the crap out of people who, if you've read the book, exactly. I'm sure everybody's read the book 100 times. But there was nothing like it before. I don't know how DC okayed this because, I mean, back then in the early 80s, they were putting out comic books like Princess Amethyst and stuff like that. And
Don't
just
talk shit.
and it was to come out with artwork like this, which I had never seen before. And the gangs and just Batman driving a tank, whatever. It was just unbelievable. It was like somebody just blew the dust right off my eyes, and I'm like, this is Batman. This is what he's supposed to be. This is what he can be. And there was nothing like it on the stands at the time. I can't even tell you how boring comic books were at the time. And he's going up against Superman in it. What's that about? Like, how is he even supposed to go up against the big blue Boy Scout? And it was just a remarkable, brand new, never been done before type of thing that, somebody that grew up on Silver Age comics and then Bronze Age comics, to me, that's when the modern age started. To me, I don't know if you can mark it down or not, but he had Carrie as Robin. He had a girl, which was brand new at the time because Robin had always been a boy, and he pushed the envelope, and it was violent. It was really violent, whereas before Batman was generally pulling his punches, but in this, he just beats the tar out of people, and in a cohesive narrative that makes sense and was exciting, and you couldn't wait for the next one to come out, and it was just remarkable because as I keep saying, there was just nothing like it out there, because I don't even know. I guess Frank Miller did Daredevil. I don't even know when. I can't even think of when Frank Miller did Daredevil.
90, 91, 89?
Okay, so he did it after this. So as far as
something like that,
to me, this was like the first thing I had ever read by Frank Miller and drawn, by him. So it was to say it was a breath of fresh air. It was more like the patient was in ICU and you gave him a complete blood transfusion, because it just made comic books way more interesting, and it did usher in the sort of grim and gritty late 80s, early 90s kind of style of art and style of story where everything was dark and gritty, which got boring after a while. But I'm telling you, it revived the comics industry as far as I'm concerned when it came out, and I'm ballparking it around 85 because that's when I lived in LA. And then I moved to Washington in 86, where I discovered the next timeless classic. And everybody's going to go, yeah, I knew you were going to say that. But I can promise you, there had been nothing like Watchmen ever before either. This was something that came out in floppies. And I read about this in the Washington Post. And this was a book that originally started with DC giving Alan Moore Charlton characters that they wanted him to revive and write in an interesting manner. And here's one of the better panels from this book. Dr. Manhattan tries to double team. What's his name?
Silk Spectre.
Yeah, Silk Spectre. They are so he was supposed to just take Charlton characters and do something interesting with them. Instead, he invented his own characters and took them in a place that talk about pushing the envelope, talk about being remarkably fresh. This was art that we had never seen before. This was a concept that we had never seen before. It was kind of like what would happen if there were really superheroes? Are you passed out there, Ryan?
But no, I'm going.
Sweet Christmas.
Am I going on too long?
I'm going.
I mean, you had Rorschach, whose face was changing on his mask, and it was Nixon was president still, and the Watchmen had gone in and cleaned up Vietnam. And a whole conspiracy thing was going on. You didn't know who was doing what, but the characters themselves were so fully formed and fleshed out and interesting, and with way different powers. Dr. Manhattan was basically godlike after being recreated in a nuclear phone booth accident or whatever that was that he dissolved and then reformed himself.
Nuclear phone booth.
and then you've got Ozymandias, and there was always in the back of the comic book, the Black Sparrow comic that this kid was always reading during the scenes of Watchmen.
Right.
And it was just 86 was also an exciting year because of Watchmen, but you started to feel like comics were for grown-ups and not dumbed down for kids, but they were actually living up to their potential, because on the heels of Watchmen came Sandman and Hellblazer and a few other things. Now I'm talking DC because I wasn't really into Marvel back then, but on the heels of that, I think it opened, Vertigo formed right after that, and I think it really punched a hole through the wall that a bunch of great ideas could flood through. Somehow DC got it in their minds that, comic books could be for grown-ups. Comic books were interesting. They can tell a story with, it's not words good, pictures good, words and pictures together bad. It was like, you can tell a cohesive, interesting story that for grown-ups that is amazing. And Alan Moore's writing, to me that was the first thing I'd ever read by Alan Moore, and it was such a huge brand new universe that you had never seen before, and he kept it all together and made it, as I say, like fully fleshed out, and it just had not been seen or done before with anything like comic books before. And it holds up today just as well as it did back then, which I think is a testament. Both it and Dark Knight Returns are two books to me that when I read them just blew me away, because I realized that it wasn't the Silver Age anymore. It wasn't the Bronze Age anymore. It was like the grown-up age where you could read several meanings into a book. Several things could represent, some things represented several things. There was some political stuff thrown in there. There was all kinds of radical ideas, and my hat's off to DC for even allowing either of those books to be made, because to me it was a radical departure from what was available then. Back when these books came out, it was really a terribly dry period of creativity, and these books just absolutely turned it around, and they're just as interesting today as they were back then 30 years ago. Jiminy Crickets, I can't believe it's 30 years ago, but it is. My hair was significantly darker than it is now, but there's a reason people always bring those books up. Now, the reason they keep coming out in 45 different formats is a separate thing. I don't know why they feel like they've got to keep re-releasing these things in 25 different, in 25 different formats. But the reason those things keep getting reprinted is because they were absolutely groundbreaking and exciting at a time when the field was fallow. There was nothing there, and these two things just popped up like sprouts that you'd never seen before.
Well, I don't think I could put anything else onto that. That was great, actually. Watchmen, man. Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen were two of the first books that I got when I started to jump back into comics a few years ago. Watchmen, I think at the time that I read Watchmen, I wasn't that impressed by it. I was like, what? Okay, it's great. It's a little bit long in tooth. But I went back to it probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like, wow, I get it. Like, I get Watchmen. I get why it is this seminal work of the medium, why it's so important, why it's so grand in scale. Not only because of the story it tells, but the artwork. Every single thing was minutely detailed by Alan Moore.
Right.
Everything, like ridiculously much stuff in the background. Moore had it written, like every single piece of paper, everything. Moore wrote it to the T. There's a great documentary actually on YouTube where it goes into detail about like the history of Watchmen, the creation of it, and everything like that. And I think they said that normally for a comic they would get like about 20 pages worth of script, which is like, you know, a page of script. For Watchmen, it was somewhere around like 120, 240 pages per issue. Something ridiculous like that, like, because Alan Moore would just go into so much detail.
Yeah.
And the fact is, people don't realize this, but that was during a time where the communications between Russia were falling apart. I think it was Gorbachev, if I'm not mistaken, was in power, and like communications between Reagan, they weren't going that smooth and things like that. And there were people that they thought, well, it doesn't matter anymore because Reagan's going to pull the nukes any day now, and it's all going to go downhill. You'd be able to comment more on that than I would.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's really intelligent looking at it as a snapshot of that time period. And not only that, but all the different characters can be representations of different forms of mindset that were going on during that time period as well. You know, Mr. Manhattan, the use of power, the use of becoming a god, the use of, you know, the United States rising up post-World War II, post-Vietnam, and all this other stuff. And we have nuclear weapons. They have nuclear weapons, things like that. Very, very intelligent and very seminal book that I really cannot give enough praise. That if you ever get a chance, really sit down. There are college thesis papers written on this stuff. Like, this is stuff that they teach it in college courses for a reason. It's that good. What was I going to say? There was something else I was going to touch on. Okay. Yeah, I mean, really, there's really not much else to say other than, you know, once you read Watchmen, there are some people that have different school of. It's one of those books that if you read it in a group, chances are you're going to break out into a fight with another person with how it ends and were the decisions that a certain character made right or wrong.
Right.
Not going to give away anything. It's a 30-year-old book. You should read it by now. But, you know, there are still people that, and there are still people in the group that haven't read it or seen the movie. So you don't know who it is that kills not Dr. Manhattan, the comedian, and what the reasons are and all that other stuff.
Yeah, you're right. It was a reflection of the times. It was a tense period where, you know, we didn't know peace was going to break out with the coming apart of the Soviet Union in a couple of years. 84 through 86 were pretty tense times, and you're right, it accurately reflected the nuclear paranoia that was going on in the world and the country. And what was neat about the book was there was also, I can see where everything had meaning in every panel, and there was also in every issue, if I recall correctly, interesting, like news articles, like an interview with Ozymandias. I'm sitting here with Ozzy freaking Mandius, the man himself. I can't believe it. And it'd be, you know, like a newspaper article putting even more flesh on the bones of the character. So that wasn't something that you had seen before. Like, I just read this whole book. I'm supposed to read this newspaper article on this guy now, but it was fascinating, and that was something that I hadn't seen before either, where there was always some kind of interesting newsy thing written into each issue.
And it's something that the first time I read it, I skipped through the prose stuff because I was like, I don't want to read this. It's prose. I'm like, I don't. I urge you, if you read Watchmen, do not skip the prose stuff.
No.
It influences and it fills in so much of the backstory, and it really is that good.
I've got a couple things about Watchmen.
Go for it.
One, the easy thing. There's a lot that's to appreciate, not only from the writing, but Dave Gibbons' artwork. On that series, because a lot of people will mention the mirroring and the of the series. Like, you'll go to the middle issue. The issue mirrors itself. That's a big thing right there. But also something big is not only Dave Gibbons' artwork, but the colors in that series, because mainstream comics are primary. They're mainly red, blue, and yellow is what colors are mainly in mainstream comics. But Watchmen took it and took you into a world of purples and greens and oranges, and it really gave the whole series this different look where it stood apart from anything else that you would have seen on the shelves at that time. So it's really important to note the colors that are used in Watchmen, and the pages that Jess are showing, you can see that they're very primarily it's purple, and that's really interesting because purple is a color that at the time and still kind of is mostly associated with villains. Purple and green are villain colors. So that was a really important thing about Watchmen. And yeah, there are yellows and blues, and obviously, you know, Dr. Manhattan is a big blue penis guy, but mostly you see those secondary colors. And that was really important in Watchmen. Another thing I want to say is I see Watchmen, like a lot of people right now who are reading it as their first graphic novel, or they're reading it now after having read a bunch of other stuff. They'll say how it's a little overrated and stuff. And my response to that is you look at it as like a Mark Rothko painting, or and excuse my butchering, Piet Mondrian painting. Because Mondrian, if you're not familiar, or if I'm butchering the name too much, Tableau 1 and Composition 2, those are the ones, it's the paintings that are just blocks of color and lines. And you look at those and you're like, this is fucking overrated. I don't care. It's just blocks of colors. But then you consider the fact that Mondrian was making these paintings in the 20s and in the 30s, and that this was something, and Mark Rothko, his paintings, which are just like splashes of color, you know, they look very, you know, who cares? Like, it's just fucking color on a canvas. But then you think about the year that it was made, you know,
and it hadn't been done before.
Yes, exactly. And this was something that was pushing people into a new direction.
Right.
Something, you know, Mondrian's Composition 2, which is one of the most famous paintings that you'll ever see in your life. It's one of the most immediately recognizable. Giant motherfucking red square, small blue square, tiny yellow square, a bunch of white and some black lines. And it's immediately identifiable. You probably don't, you might not know the name of it, and you might not know the artist of it, but you know that painting. And it was important. It was extremely important when it came out 1930, that specific one, because it changed the landscape of art. And you started going into Cubism, and you started getting Pablo Picasso. And it's the same way with Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons in Watchmen. What they were doing there was introducing us to an entirely new era of comics, and an entirely new way of telling stories. So that's just my 2 cents on that, and something that I've been thinking about all day today.
Yeah, no, you guys added on to it really well. Both your opinions, very well thought out.
Now, I before we move on, just like a real quick aside, how do you feel about the ending?
I think it's brilliant. I think that it's a brilliant ending for a brilliant character, because it's so gray.
Because you can see his point of view.
Yeah, that's the fucking the reason why Adrian is such an important character, and he informs a lot of villains that have become excellent villains. I think that after this point is mostly when you see Lex Luthor becoming that very relatable villain. He's not just complaining about Superman ruining humanity. He's now making good points. Sinestro is making good points about everything. You know, Magneto is you can get behind what he's saying. And it was Adrian Veidt was probably not the first. I wouldn't know because I wasn't there. But he's one of the ones that really turned the tables and gave you that antagonist, not even villain, antagonist, that you can follow and you can believe in what they're saying. And it was very important going forward, because you see a lot more of that nowadays, a ton more of that. You have a lot more of it. People will say, I think in our villains episode, we mentioned several times the best villains are the ones that you can look at them and say, like, I can see your point and I can agree with what you're saying. Maybe you're not doing it the right way, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Very good point.
Jess?
Yeah, that's it for me. I went on long enough, I think, about those two books.
I think the ending is kind of this.
Oh, you're asking me about the ending?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I agree with Riley, 100%. I don't have any issue with the ending, and he's right that Ozymandias is doing what he thinks is the right thing to do. Whether you agree or not with his methods, that's up to you. And no, Riley expressed my feelings exactly on the ending of the book. I had no problem with it. I loved it. It was surprising to me that something like that would happen, because up until that point, nothing like that really ever happened in comics, where somebody did something like that, got away with it, and it was a world-changing event. So in that world, so yeah, I thought it was a brilliant ending, because I just couldn't believe that he got away with it.
Yeah. It more plays with your expectations, because I imagine at the time everybody was like, "Oh, it's comic book tropes." He subverts the comic book tropes by even Ozymandias saying, "Look, I'm not a comic book villain. I already did it like 10 minutes ago while we were fucking arguing. Like, it's done.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter anymore. The deed is done, Whereas a comic book villain, they typically would like wait for the guy to show up and like, oh no, he beat me to it. I didn't get to do my plan or whatever. Ozymandias was like, look, I'm not an idiot. I'm the smartest man in the world. It's done.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I know a lot of people's favorite character is God. We're really running long on time, so I'll speed this up. I know a lot of people's favorite character is Rorschach, but I like Rorschach in this. Well, we turned this in the Watchmen episode. I like Rorschach in the sense that Rorschach is really the only character in the story that a lot of people look at him as like a hero, and I'm like, he's not really a hero. He's just the only guy that wouldn't bend. He's the only guy that wouldn't break his morals. He dies for his morals, for what he believes in.
Because just like his mask, he's absolutely black and white.
Exactly.
Right. He's the moral compass.
Rorschach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So guess we're moving on. Riley, what do you got for comics that are timeless?
I've got 3 books.
I'll be right back. I gotta go. My computer is the battery is dying, so I gotta go get my cord. But please go ahead, and I'll come in and interrupt you.
Fair enough. I look forward to it. Okay, so let's see. The first one that I picked out was actually, this one was mentioned when we were chatting about what we should talk about this week, and that's Bone. This is Jeff Smith's. As far as I'm concerned, this is his opus, but to be fair, I haven't really read much other Jeff Smith stuff. Bone is such a great series. And we're not going to go as deep, and I'm not going to mention Cubist art for this one. It's to me, it's timeless because it's also ageless, and by which I mean you could be a kid in grade school, you could be an adult like myself or Luis or Jess, and you will enjoy Bone, and that just proves how great the storytelling is here. Now, the premise, basically, it's an adventure book. It's an all ages adventure book about the character on over here, Phone Bone. And he's basically just going through, and it's this really thick book. Goes through all these adventures, goes through all these trials. But the thing that really makes it stand out is the humanity behind the book. These characters, Phone Bone and the other Bones, are very human characters that you can relate to on many different levels. And it's such a masterful book because it plays with your emotions, and it plays with levels of maturity where it can relate to anyone from any age. So I guess that's what I'm mainly trying to say about Bone. As well, it's available in so many cheap formats. This giant fucker of a book has a cover price of $39.95. So that's something that I'm really impressed by with Bone, which obviously means that everyone wants you to read this book. That's what I take from that. Everyone wants you to read Bone. And I'll show you some artwork because it's good. It's good. Jeff Smith is a great artist. This is black and white. I believe that's how it originally published, was in black and white. There is a more expensive colored edition out there. It's also a standard size paperback.
Colored
Actually, I
editions
think
are
it's
beautiful.
smaller than standard, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's smaller than standard size paperback, but they do have other editions out there. So if you feel like spending a little more, if you feel like splurging, then there's obviously that option out there. But to start with, this is something that I would recommend to like any reader of any age is Bone. If you're wanting to get into comics, I don't know why I didn't mention this back on that show where we talked about like comics for beginners, because Bone should have been one of them. It's a great book. You can give it to your kids, you can give it to your niece, you can give it to your nephew, you can give it to your grandma, you can give it to your uncle, you can give it to anyone, and they're going to get it. They're going to appreciate it. It's a great Christmas gift, but Christmas is already done, so too bad.
Three Kings Day.
Bone's great, though. Bone's really great. Anyway, I didn't really prepare much to say about Bone because I was just sitting there and I was like, fuck, I need a third book, and then I picked Bone. But I do stand behind my decision, so whatever. The second book that I have in my stack is one Planetary by Mr. Warren Ellis and Mr. John Cassaday. And this book now, wowzers, this is a great little book here. Not so little. But, you know. Now, Planetary, this one interesting thing about that, the final issue, if I'm not mistaken, there was almost a 10-year break between the last two issues, or something like that. It took forever. Maybe it was between first and last issue. I don't remember. It took forever for the series to be finished. But even though it took for fucking ever for the series to be finished, I can say that Ellis landed. He nailed the ending. Absolutely. He absolutely nailed it. Now, this is a book that I read originally in paperback, and I picked up the final hardcover, right when it came out, which was very soon after the last issue hit shelves. And I was so immersed in this story when I read it. I was so engaged because it's such an engaging story, so amazing. Ellis does a fantastic job telling the story of these three characters, Elijah Snow, the drummer, and Jaquita Wagner. And at first it seems like, okay, we got this crew of people. It's this very episodic series. It's just an action-adventure sci-fi series, whatever. And they're going on these different, doing these different things in every issue. But by the time you get into that fourth volume, and there's a lot of symbolism, and you can see it on the trade dress on a lot of these books, the puzzle pieces, because it's Warren Ellis trying to shove it down your throat that all the pieces fucking come together by the end. And by the last issue, you know, you see everything come together, and nothing was wasted. No page was wasted. Every storyline comes together and melds into this beautiful, this beautiful culmination of storytelling at the end, and it just huge payoff. But the real reason why I truly recommend this series and why I say it's timeless is because it's extremely referential to every age of comic books, and it gives you this like firsthand these references to big things, big concepts and characters that occupy comic books from the Golden Age, the Silver Age, and the Bronze Age, and you get these characters and these concepts that are meant to mirror like the Fantastic Four. There's something that mirrors Galactus in there. You get stuff talking about like Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. You get a character that is essentially Doc Savage, and bringing them all into this one universe and kind of making them coexist. And it's so interesting to see these characters travel from place to place in every issue and deal with these very separate, very independent problems and very independent storylines, and see everything that you love from every comic universe all of a sudden shoved together in one ball and made into a single story. And that, I think, is the genius behind Warren Ellis. So that's why I think Planetary is timeless, because it will forever be a series that I reference people to. If you're already, it's not baby's first comic book, it's not baby's first graphic novel, but if you're already a fan of comic books, it's something that I encourage people to read, because it's really interesting to see one man's take on the entire superhero genre. And that's why I think it will always be a relevant book. It's a timeless series because Warren Ellis's his take on stuff is something that I think everyone needs to see. So there's my butchered take on Planetary.
Oh, it was really good. I think the comp. Wow, I'm getting feedback again. Hello?
Hello?
I don't hear anything, but I guess that means it's me.
I'm not hearing it.
I'm not hearing it.
Hello? Okay, we're good. That was weird.
Okay.
We had it for like a second. I think the common theme that we're seeing a lot tonight in all the books that we're covering is that a lot of these books, aside from Bone, really aren't new comic friendly. These are books that if you've been reading for a while, these are the things you should probably start picking up. They're a little bit more advanced. They're not, your traditional, and not knocking this, they're not your traditional, wham bam DC comics or wham bam Marvel comics. These are stuff that, like, they are classics for a reason. And we just lost Jess.
No.
Hey, pop back up for a second. Hey, there he is.
Great.
No mic. Yeah, these are classics for a reason in the medium. You had one more? There he is. He's coming back.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. I do have one more.
Sorry, guys.
Final
No,
one, and this I don't feel like I have much that I need to say about this because I've talked about it several times in this. I've talked about it at least once in this thing, and then I've also talked about it in my group and in Facebook or in my website on the Tumblr.
Mhm.
And that's Animal Man by Grant Morrison. I know the first reaction for anyone that knows me is like, oh, fuck him because he's already biased towards Grant Morrison. Of course he's going to say something Grant Morrison. But Animal Man was the book that really turned me on to Grant Morrison to begin with. Animal Man was the one that made me love Grant Morrison. Now, I had this whole thing in my head, and now I can't think of everything. But Morrison, favorite writer, favorite book, Animal Man. This came out in the late 80s. I believe it started in 89. It concluded somewhere around 91. It was a quick 27-issue series. It's all collected in one volume here in the Omnibus or 3 paperback volumes. It's a story about Buddy Baker, a.k.a. Animal Man, who is a superhero, but he's also very much a family man. And he is, I don't remember if he is in this point, but he is afterwards at least. He is here. He's a stuntman. He works as a stuntman for movies. And superheroing, the point is superheroing is kind of second to everything else for Buddy. And this series follows him at the beginning. The first half, the first 2 acts or so are very standard superhero fare. You see kind of episodically one thing happens to him and another thing happens to him. He takes on another villain. Morrison kind of gives us an evolved look at his powers, because his power is basically to take the attributes from any animal. And so Morrison gives us he can also take kind of weird things, like from an earthworm he can bud a new arm or something, or from an amoeba he can cover he can double himself, stuff like that. So it's not just like, oh, cheetahs run fast and fish can swim. It's kind of a little bit deeper than that, and Morrison shows us that for the first half or so of this book. But then you start getting to a lot of shitty things are happening to Buddy, and he's questioning why is it happening to him and what's this weird thing that he keeps seeing. And the story goes forward, and this is where it really goes from standard superhero fare into being something that's extremely notable, and that is he starts questioning things, questioning why things are happening to him, why things are happening to his family. And as you get into the last third, it becomes this, and I don't want to spoil everything for people, but it's this really interesting existential look at what it's like to be a comic book character.
Yeah.
And nowadays you have characters like Deadpool who do that all the time. They break the fourth wall and stuff.
Right.
But this was such a groundbreaking thing, at least for me to read. And I understand that it's not the first time anyone's done that, but I think it's something that's groundbreaking because it's such a well-told story about this character and his relationship with his family and what's important to him. And he's running out and trying to find out why the universe is against him and why the universe wants him to suffer. and it really informs us about the nature of comic books, and it's Grant Morrison's opus for the comic book character in general, and it ends fantastically. It's got so many scenes in it that just took me aback. Like I stood there and had to put the book down when I was reading it the first time and just gather myself, because I was basically just tripping balls while I wasn't on drugs, and it was crazy. And Morrison gives you that experience, and I could talk for hours. I could do an entire show on Animal Man, just like we could on Watchmen, and I absolutely love it. Don't let a stupid a title like Animal Man deter you from this book, because I believe that it's something that every comic fan should read. Whether you wind up liking it or not, it's an experience that you should have.
It's
And it is
absolutely
my
brilliant.
personal favorite comic book that's ever been published.
It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
I believe it is. I totally believe it is. And it's definitely what turned me on to Grant Morrison. It's why he's my favorite writer. I think that it's timeless, because it's something that you can read at any time, and you will get the same message out of it. You get that same feeling of dire just depression from Buddy as he discovers sees what's going on with his family. You get that view of like him exploring this, this landscape that I'm not spoiling anything, but what's happening to him and what he's seeing and what he's experiencing. And by the end of the book, it's just something that you're like, oh, fuck. Like, what did I just see? And it made me like really step outside of myself for a moment.
It's probably the most interesting, and I would say one of the most brilliant examinations of the relationship between a creator and its creation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, because it's a huge moment that happens in the book, and I think if I give it away what happens, it would really ruin it. But there's definitely that moment where you turn the page and you get the whoa page.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of moments where I did that when I first read it.
No, but this page I'm talking about specifically is the whoa page. I don't know if
oh yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The first time I read that,
mind blown.
Oh, instantly. I was like, oh my gosh.
Like, you get that idea from that point on of what Morrison is doing here and what he's trying to accomplish with his character, and you're like, holy shit, like, it's not something that you were expecting to be taken, like, it's not a ride you're expecting to be taken on. And all of a sudden you realize what's about to happen, and your mind expands for a second, and you're just like, all right, I have to be ready to take this in. And it's so beautiful. And the best thing about Animal Man, I believe, is that it informs so much about Morrison's future projects. Because if you start off on Animal Man and you read Morrison's Animal Man and you start going into some of the things that he did directly thereafter, like Doom Patrol, and then you can move on to the Invisibles and other stuff like that, you start to get inside of his head, and you can start to appreciate where he's going with things and where he's come from. And not to make him sound like Cotton Eye Joe, where did you come from, where did you go? But you get this idea of exactly how his thought process is from the beginning of his career. And he did a few things before Animal Man, but from the beginning of his career until now, and some of the big ambitious projects that he's been doing. And I'm not saying that you absolutely have to buy every single book that he's ever written to understand every single other book that he's ever written, but damn it if it doesn't help you gain an appreciation. And I believe if you start from a point like this book and you wind up enjoying it, you're going to be inspired to go ahead and start buying everything else that he's written, because it's just an interesting exploration of a creator's mind and their ability to get into your mind and get into a character's mind. And it's a great experience. It's one of the most ethereal, one of the most personal. Like, I feel like I was literally like, it's an experience. Reading this book and going forward in Morrison's career makes me feel like I've met him and I've talked to him. personally about these things, and he's told me these things. So it's a very ethereal experience for me. Maybe it's just because I'm a little bit drunk that I'm saying these things.
Oh, he's getting sentimental.
But yeah, and someone in the chat just mentioned this book, but this is extremely important, and I'm so fucking happy that DC decided to give us a little reprint, a little first print of this in collected edition. If I could get it out of my goddamn shelf, and that's Flex Mentallo.
Oh yeah,
This is a fan-fucking-tastic book that informs you of it's a trip through every age of the comic medium, and it's just, yeah. I'm done. By the way, I'm done.
Bravo, sir.
I'm out.
I mean, there's really nothing else that we could talk about regarding Animal Man. Animal Man is, just, it really is. Riley's hyped it up, but it really is just that good. I know a lot of people in chat are saying, yeah, we want to read it, but the omnibus is out of print. So,
Grab the paperbacks. I think they're still out there. It's so worth it. Even if you just, that's where I originally read it, was in the paperbacks. And honestly, it's a good experience because it breaks it up into acts for you.
I'm pretty sure the paperbacks are readily available.
Yeah, and the 3-act structure is something that's always important in storytelling. 3-act structure is important to the 3-act structure is important to storytelling, and I am glad that I experienced this series in that way, rather than just jumping into the omnibus edition, as great of an experience as it could be that way as well.
Yeah, Animal Man is, I think the best way to describe Animal Man is that Animal Man is like taking weed for the first time. It's an easy drug. Then you get into the Invisibles, which is pretty much like hardcore cocaine and LSD. You don't start with cocaine and LSD, folks. You start with weed. I'm not condoning drug use. I'm just saying. I would never condone drug use. I'm just saying. But it's
I would.
It's Morrison light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And how?
It's a gateway to Morrison.
Cheers. Cheers to Grant Morrison.
Cheers to Grant Morrison. There you go. Well, he's done, so I guess he can move on to me. He's out for the night. I guess when we do the outro, it'll be where's the group, Riley? The omnibus fuck
the beneficial omnibus group.
All right. I'm gonna speed through my 2 choices because we're really running late. And we've been going on for a while. My first choice, Kingdom Come.
Nice.
Kingdom Come stands the test of time, in my opinion, for a number of reasons. Written by Mark Waid and art by Alex Ross, Kingdom Come is absolutely brilliant. It is a commentary on the extreme comics of the 90s that were so prevalent. Essentially what happens in Kingdom Come is that this is an Elseworlds story. All of our favorite superheroes have pretty much just up and quit because we as a society have decided, you know what, our old superheroes are out of date. We want the new superheroes that they like to kill, they like to do things, and they like to pretty much just say fuck the rules. Basically, this is all led by Magog. Magog ends up, God, it's been so long since I've read this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Magog ends up killing, if I'm not mistaken, the Joker in this. It's been so long. I apologize.
It's been so long for me too.
I believe he ends up killing the Joker, which sets off a chain of events, which sets off like a nuclear explosion involving a mutant, and that pretty much leads into Superman going into hiding and all our favorite superheroes saying, you know what, we're done. We don't want to deal with this anymore. Absolutely brilliant story that is a social commentary on the state of comics in the 90s, basically saying, look, we have these superheroes for a reason. They're important for a reason. They are iconic for a reason. And just because they aren't as willing to kill, or they're not as in your face or as extreme as a lot of these other comics that are here, they are still awesome. Absolutely one of my favorite stories of all time. Beautiful art by Alex Ross. I know a lot of people over the years have kind of grown kind of stale on the Alex Ross style, but
those people are stupid.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's cool to hate on Alex Ross. I love the art.
I love Alex
There,
Ross.
there are some panels in here when Shazam goes against Superman. It's awesome, absolutely awesome stuff. Mark Waid writes a hell of a story, and I think Kingdom Come. It's only like about 6 issues. Again, it's been so. And I probably should have read this in order for this. And I'm actually wanting to read Animal Man and Kingdom Come, so I'm gonna have to decide what I'm gonna have to read tonight before I go night night. But absolutely brilliant story. That if you have not read Kingdom Come, I recommend you do read it. But again, like every other comic that is on this list, I really do recommend this is something you read when you're farther down along the line of you reading comics, when you've read a few things, you know, your traditional Batman stories, your traditional Superman stories, because I think you'll get a lot more out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
So that is there. The next one I'm going to do is, of course, come on, V for Vendetta. Absolutely brilliant. I personally, a lot of fans will say that Alan Moore's best work is Watchmen. I'm not disagreeing with them. I am of the opinion that I like V for Vendetta more. Poignant, powerful, and I think in many ways more relatable now than ever, especially with the rise of, you know, Anonymous and leaking information, government power, things like that. Absolutely brilliant story. If you've not read V for Vendetta, again, this is one of those stories where V for Vendetta, I could do a whole show just alone on V for Vendetta, but it's one of those books that when I was first starting to read comics, it really was one of those things where it just made me cry. Like absolutely just bawl like a little girl when you start reading the letters. I don't know if you guys have read V for Vendetta or you remember it.
I have. It was a long time ago, but when it first came out that I read it. Remember, I'm old.
But it's absolutely brilliant. It really is. Just the artwork on it as well. David Lloyd using very dark shadows, very dark colors, very muted palette. It's got a very muted palette to it. I love this story. Basically set in, and I'm reading the back of it, basically set in imagined future England, because I really don't want to give anything else away, that has given itself over to fascism. This groundbreaking story captures both the suffocating nature of life and the authoritarian police state and the redemptive power of the human spirit which rebels against it. Basically, it plays upon the idea of ideas, how you cannot kill an idea. An idea lives inside of the mind of the people that they harbor it. And it's one of the greatest things that I have ever read. So there's that.
Nice.
I'm kind of just sped through everything because, like I said, we're going long tonight. And really, I just can't top what you guys have said.
So this was a beneficial show for you too, then.
It was a
Definition. We've had angry Riley. Now we've got tipsy Riley.
Okay. Do you guys have anything else to say before we close this out? We're not doing Q&A tonight because, like I said, we've gone on. It's been over 2 hours, I think, at this point.
I'll just throw out one book that I think stands the test of time. I won't talk about it too much, but I thought it was groundbreakingly brilliant at the time, and that is Marvels by Busiek and Ross. I thought Marvels was. I think that's a real. Timeless book because it tells everything from the perspective of the general population, seeing these marvels in the sky. It was the first place I ever saw Alex Ross art, which blew me away. But it's so well written from the perspective of you and me down on the ground, seeing these marvels up in the air and how it affects the general populace. I could talk a lot longer, but I know we're running out of time. But I think that's a good book from Marvel that's a timeless book.
Here. I've never read it.
Oh my gosh, it's so great.
I've never read
Marvel. So
Marvels.
Great. God, I love that book.
I've heard great things.
Yeah, you'd love it.
I really need to sit down and read it. That's Alex Ross as well, right?
Yeah. That was the first time I've ever seen I had ever seen Alex Ross art, and it just blew me away.
For those of you that are kind of new into this, and if you've never seen, you must have seen Alex Ross's art at some point, whether you knew about it or not. But Google his art. It's astounding.
Yeah, it really is. It's certainly the most realistic comic book art I've ever seen.
Right. He's able to really walk a fine line between comic book and reality. He's able to really
Yeah.
balance that out well.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else before we close it out?
All righty.
I think we're good. I think Riley fell asleep on the keyboard.
Right? No, I'm just typing.
You kind of look like you fell asleep.
I'm good to go, bro.
All right, so we'll close this thing out. Go ahead, Riley.
I'm okay to drive.
Riley, where can they find you aside from the local bar?
You can find me on my channel, Riley Moe, on YouTube, or just search The Omnibus Collector. On Facebook, you can find my group, The Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and Community. As well, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, other places.
Where he bothers the farmer, bro.
You're on Tumblr too, right?
Oh yeah, my website, the most important piece of all.
You're welcome.
TheOmnibusCollector.com, where I post exciting articles for you to read about what's coming up soon and what I think should be published in the future. That's it.
Nice.
All right, go ahead, Jess. What you got?
You can find me, OmniDog, on the Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and oh shoot, I screwed it up again. He just said it. On Riley's Facebook page, where I make dreams come true by helping you find whales and whalettes.
It's so true.
He's
the dream giver.
The Valiant page.
The Omnibus Collectors Valiant page and Comic Swap.
We really should just change that cover photo to just the giant V for Valiant on it right now.
I'm gonna ask Lewis to. I'm gonna say sorry, Lewis, but the Princess Leia needs to come down.
That needs to be the Valiant page.
It needs to be faith across the entire.
I am never recommending you guys books that I don't have anymore.
No. I'm
never doing that anymore.
We learned that the hard way.
Yeah, and unless we get money out of it.
All right.
And where can they find you? Hardcover.
As always, you are already on my channel, so if this is your first time checking out this channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/hardcover reviews, and twitter.com/hardcover review. And of course, if you want to support this channel and you want to help a brother out, patreon.com/hardcover reviews. I know everybody and their mom has a Patreon. I know that we're putting out some good content out there. In the past 72 hours, it's been like an influx of people just pitching into Patreon. I went from 100 to 160, which means we flew past the third Patreon goal, which means I now have to start reviewing one of you guys' choices for once a month. And I'm genuinely terrified of what sick shit you guys are going to pull out that I have to review.
How are you going to decide what is it going to be a vote, and by popular vote that people decide what you read?
That's what I'm leaning towards right now. I still haven't worked it out. I should have something up by next week as to how that system is going to go, but I'm leaning towards like a vote. Something like along the lines, like Red Hood and the Outlaws, and like a bunch of like Essex County. I saw somebody recommend that already. Something along those lines.
Essex County's good though.
Yeah. That's why I'm pitching Essex.
Oh, forget it, kid.
Oh,
it's not happening. You have to review crappy crap.
No.
That was the goal.
I will say they've been gentle on me so far. They're like, no, let's ease them into it. Let's give them something good first, and then we're gonna throw the shit at them. So I'm like, oh, you guys are so nice.
Oh, I'm gonna jump on that page and set them straight. You're not getting away with this, kid.
But yeah, me and Jess, we also have the weekly news show, which has been really popular. I know a lot of people have really been enjoying that. We do that every Sunday, so you can catch that there. And yeah, we hit the third goal, and I've already got the fourth goal up, where I will do a Patreon exclusive Q&A where you email me questions and all that good stuff, and I'll answer it once a month if we hit $200. So yeah, thank you guys. For those of you that are still left in here, thank you for checking out this. And yeah, we will see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.